I'm finding like in this moment in time and this moment in history and civilization and the apocalypse and the fall of civilization and all the things, I am like having to grab every practice I can get my hands on, right? To get myself grounded in the I am that I am that I am. To get myself grounded in resilience, to get myself grounded in all the things we were just singing about, right? To find my way into the renewal and transformation that love promises, right? That's this season of spring that we're in is the manifest promise of renewal, of return, of the blossom, right? Which is why this series is called Blossoming into Oneness. And it's pretty, and I'm wearing flowers. Me and Maeve have matching flowers on. But here's the dealio. We have to talk about all that it takes for transformation to occur, right? If you talk to the caterpillar about the butterfly, the caterpillar might think the butterfly is a problem. Right? And if we talk about the phoenix that rises from the ash, which is the resurrection I want to talk about today, one of the original origin stories of the resurrection, right, comes from Egypt and Osiris. And the bird was called Bennu before it was called phoenix by the Greeks. And in this story of the Bennu bird, is this idea that when you know it's time for change, when you know it's time to die to what has been, you go and put yourself in the way of the intensity of the sun's heat so that it will spark a fire, so that you can set yourself on fire in preparation for the new to come. That's dramatic, right? That's dramatic. But this is the original resurrection story. And it's, not often told that we talk a lot about the resilience of the phoenix that rises from the ash. But the story is that the phoenix knows it's time to die and goes and sets itself on fire. That's the story. I think we could look around our own lives right now. I think we could look around the world right now and name some things that are ready to die. That are in the process of dying. But our work as spiritual beings, as people who have decided to live a spiritual life, is to get into relationship with the reality of what we are dealing with, the reality of the chaos, the reality of the crumbling of systems and structures that need to crumble, and the reality of what that actually means. The reality of how painful death is, even though it is a guaranteed part of our experience. Even though winter reminds us every year that it's gonna die. The trees are gonna drop their leaves, right? We're gonna see things just die back to the ground, even though they are perennial. And we know they're coming back in the spring. But it's still a thing that happens that has a lot of pain and sometimes suffering that goes with it. And I think one of the things that happens in our discussion about resilience and our discussions of the phoenix that rises from the ashes, we glorify the rise as if it's just this thing where we're like, I'm rising now. I'm returning, I'm blossoming into oneness. It's so lovely. And what we're not talking about is the pain of the loss of what was. The wild amounts of discomfort that come with transformation. Right? We know the story of the butterfly. The caterpillar has to agree to go hang itself upside down and then melt into nothingness, completely turn into goo, so that it can then become the new thing that is next. I was thinking about resilience, and I struggle with that word. I think we made it sexy. I don't know why we did that to this idea that we have to go through really hard suffering, and then we bounce back and look, I'm resilient. And I don't know that we want to glorify this. And resilient actually means to bounce back and take the shape again, like a rubber band, right? That's going to snap back and be in its original form. I don't know that that's what we're after. I don't know that it is intended for us in these deep and dark moments of the dying, of the setting ourselves on fire for the purpose of transformation and renewal. We are not trying to go back to the shape we were. We have to let the rubber band break. We have to be willing to go put ourselves on a branch and hang ourselves upside down and completely dissolve and melt into goo so that the new can come. This is transformation. And it's painful, and it's hard, right? I'm watching friends and loved ones right now lose everything they understood about their lives, right? I have friends who work in climate justice who are being told they might be deported because criminalizing climate justice is a new thing. And we can't turn away from what is happening, but we also can't obsess with what is happening and forget that there is a spiritual life unfolding in the midst of all of it. In the midst of all of it. I was thinking a lot about this phoenix story, right? The Bennu bird who literally says, okay, I'm gonna go build my nest in the hottest part of the world that I can find in line with the sun, as closest to the sun as I can get, so that it will spark and start a fire. I'm going to go put myself in the way of the biggest light I can find so that I can be renewed. And the renewal comes as a result of the fire, right? So then I went thinking about fire, and I found the fire goddess Agni in Hinduism and Buddhism. Temescal ceremony, where we sit with fire so that we can sweat everything out and be renewed. The fire ceremony of the Celts during this season. The fire dancers of the Yoruba people. This idea that we must burn for renewal, for rebirthing, is all over the world. And yet we often come to our spiritual lives in hopes of avoiding it. When it asks us to die, as we all have things in our life that ask us to die. We all have moments where we're like, that has to stop. Right? We all have habits, we all have ideas, we all have relationships that need to end. Anybody not have that? So we are all confronted with, as a part of our nature, as a part of the design, with ending, with death, with rebirth, with renewal, with seasonal cyclical cycles. And what happens instead of being surprised by it? What if we allowed our spiritual lives to pull it into part of our practices? This is a thing that is something that I can be in relationship with. I know winter is coming, as I know spring is coming. I know my own death is coming, as I know birth is happening all over the place. And if I can get into relationship with it, I can be a conscious participant in the practice of my renewal. I can get into partnership with the divine, which is really what the practice of metaphysics is getting into partnership with the divine, getting into partnership with life as it's been designed, and to stop banging our heads against the reality that we are actually living in. Which then sent me to thinking about more things about fire. And I thought about all of the ways that we use fire to manage lands. And then I was reading about there are certain plants and seeds that need fire in order for them to turn into what they've been designed to turn into. It takes actual burning for the seed pod to open and then plant itself. And they call this controlled burn. And I thought, yes. We've got to be willing to sign up for the burn. We have to be willing, like the caterpillar who is willing to go and tether itself upside down from the branch. We've got to say, I am going to sign up for the burn. I am going to trust, as we sang, that love is bigger and can hold me in it. That I can control the burn of the endings and the releasing and the letting go of what is being asked to be resurrected. I can be like the Bennu and go put myself in the way of the greatest force in the universe, which the Egyptians named the sun, and let it set me on fire so that I can burn away anything that no longer serves. Have faith deep enough to say, burn it up. I pray for the removal of all barriers from my wholeness. I walk consciously into the letting go of the misbeliefs I have taken on, of the internalized BS from culture that I thought might be true. I say, burn it. Even when it hurts. Even when I grieve the mess it was. You know, I think back to when we were coming out of sheltering in place in the early COVID year, in the first part of the coming out of sheltering in place. And there was all of this talk about, not returning, right? That we can't go back to what was. And yet we ran to what was, like a child seeking shelter in a mother's arms. I mean, we hightailed it as fast as we could, back to what we thought was normal. And I'm saying to you, if we want transformation, if we want to experience wholeness in our own being, knowing the truth of who we are as God-made people, and to know not only individually but collectively what becomes possible in that knowing. If we want that, we have to be willing to let burn what needs to burn so that it can be born. We have to be willing to grow our capacity to sit in discomfort, to let go of even the things that we know don't serve, but we find really comfortable and convenient. and trust that love's got it. There's a line in the U2 song that says, I think it says, I'm going to walk through the door, but it's you are the one who makes the path.
Yeah, the door is open to go through. If I could, I would come too, but the path is made by you.
The path is made by you. The path is made by you. You have to go put yourself in the way of God's love. And to put yourself so directly in the way of that love that it has the power to purify and cleanse the BS. And I can't go through your door. And you can't go through my door. But because we each go through the door, because we each say a holy yes to our own renewal and transformation, the path becomes ours. The possibility for liberation for all people becomes possible in the material world, which means we get to have that experience. And we have to be willing to be so filled by that love itself, the burn itself, carries us through the discomfort. We get to trust that although this feels really awful, although watching all of my friends have their lives upended, have their security be so unsure, is so painful, and yet we can sit in agreement, we can sit in prayer because we know it has to happen. We have to let it burn and trust that there is something greater. There is the power of the Son, there is the power of God's love to renew us from those very ashes. And we can say yes to that. We can say, I am willing to deepen in my faith enough to sit here and put myself in the way of this renewal. I am not going to go get the duct tape out and try to put it back together. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it die. And trust that who I am becoming in it is the love that I was designed to be, is the me that Spirit always had in mind. Even if it feels really uncomfortable and I don't know her, right? I will never forget, like, boo-hooing because I became somebody who likes to bake pies. That was so unexpected, as my younger self had no idea that was coming. Right? And so part of it was about just allowing the new version of you that may be really surprising to come. Which also means we have to let go. And I want you to think for a moment right now, what is something really specific in your life that needs to burn, that's ready to be done? I want you to just name it in your own mind. And then I want you to imagine yourself sitting in prayer, walking in prayer, dancing in prayer, singing in prayer. Find your very favorite way to pray. And asking for it to be burned, to be removed, to be cleansed with all of your heart. Saying, I am so willing to let this go, and I am so willing to sit in whatever pain and discomfort I may have in that process. I am so willing to be in the light of love that I can hold myself steadfast in the releasing. I can hold the vision of what becomes possible because I do, even if I don't know what it looks like. even if I don't know what it looks like. I can have faith big enough in that love to shape it for me. I can give myself over to it. That's the kind of prayer that this time in human history is asking of. The kind of prayer that says, I will know love in the midst of my pain. I will call on love in the midst of my terror of the unknown. I will sit myself down in the face of the divine when it feels like everything around me is crumbling. So that I can be made new. Not just them, right? I bet there's a lot of prayers that we want to just pray everybody else act right. And I'm saying to you, I want you to pray for your own transformation. So that then we can be made new. And this collective thing, this global thing, this life thing that we share and belong to can be made new because we've said yes. It's a big ask. So I'm going to give you the homework again, because we just did a little baby practice of it. I want you to find the thing in your life that must end. Start with one thing. And I want you to take it into prayer, and I want you to ask Spirit, ask love, ask the divine, whatever language you need, to purify you of it, to burn it away. And that you are willing to participate in that process. You are willing to trust love itself to carry you through whatever discomfort it may bring. That's the homework. That's the prayer. And I trust us as holy, blessed emanations of the One to meet what is ours to meet. If a caterpillar can hang itself upside down and turn to goo, you and I can ask to be renewed. You and I can start letting go and taking our hands off what needs to burn. So that's the prayer, and I'm going to ask the practitioners to circle us. And if you are new here or haven't been in a while, this is a chamber of prayer, and it is where the practitioners and myself will create a little space of prayer, and we're all going to pray out loud at the same time, holding this intention, holding the truth that love has always been and will always be bigger. So I invite you to just let us hold that truth for you for a moment. Let us pray. Oh, this only love. This power, this presence, this beauty, this harmony, this fire that is love itself, that is always available to cleanse and purify and remove what is in the way of the greater becoming of good. I know that this love is in action right now. This love is in action as the sacred yes of every person in this room and within the sound of my voice that is willing to sit in the release, in the renewal, in the letting go, in the burning away. And the holy sacred yes is, I am willing to sit in that discomfort and willing to be made whole and new so that I can be the designed, perfect, unique shape of one, of the love that wants to come forward in this planet right now. And because you say yes, because I say yes, because we say yes, that collective yes becomes the transformation and metamorphosis of the world. That you and I become the way that the world we want to be living in takes shape and comes into form. That's how good God is. That is how good it is to be the way of the One. Thank you, God. Thank you, life. I release these words knowing they are already in motion for good. Amen, ashe, aho, and so it is.